everybody, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio. Over the next few days, I am going to show you, I'm going to kind of mix and match some things. So I'm going to show you things from the mini catalog, but I'm also going to show you some things from our online exclusives. So our online exclusives are things that don't appear in a catalog, as the name suggests. So you have to go to my website to be able to find them. Which you can also find anything that's in a catalog on my website as well. But this stuff, one good thing about it is as it's currently all in stock, and a few of the things that I'll show you today aren't in stock right now. Several of them, a lot of things came back in stock last week. It's all been super popular. But I'm going to show you some ideas of things that you might be waiting for, and you can kind of switch them around if you're waiting for something, and some of this stuff will work. So if you don't have a copy of the mini catalog, I'd be happy to send you one if you don't have a demonstrator and you're in the US. If you're not in the US and you're in one of the one of the countries that we do have Stampin' Up, I'd be happy to recommend somebody to you. So today I am going to use the bundle, the Winter Owls. So I got it. The very first thing I stamped with out of this catalog way back before it was even, before people could buy from it, was the Fragrant Forest. And I hadn't ordered the owls or the deer, but after I used it, I thought, well, I could incorporate all these together. So I ordered this right after that. And then I still have, this is the first time that I've been able to use it. And this is not the card. It's been so long now, I don't even remember exactly. Well, I am going to mix it with this eventually, but it's kind of taken some twists and turns in the meantime. So last week I spent all week getting my Try It class out, so it is done and dusted. And then after I do this, I'm filming my card club. And then after I do my card club, I'm going to start on my Oh Holy Night class. So I'm a little bit overwhelmed with classes right now. So I'm throwing in these videos. So today you're getting kind of a bonus video, because I know if I don't do both projects in the one video, I'm not going to get to both of them. So it might be a little bit of a longer video because I'm going to do two things, but that way I can ensure that you get to see them both. So we're going to use Winter Owls. And here's why it changed. My project changed because as we have to do, unfortunately, I was at the grocery store. And as I was walking, I saw the Harry Potter. Now, my daughter and her friends and my nieces and I don't know about my nephew, maybe my little nephews. They're huge Harry Potter fans. We've been to Harry Potter World. I've never actually sat through a whole Harry Potter movie. Kids' movies aren't always my thing. But they all love Harry Potter. And so as I was walking through buying my groceries, as you have to do, sometimes, I don't get to the store as often as I need to these days. But I saw this, and I know that the owl is in Harry Potter. Like, I've seen starts of, not all of them, but maybe the first one. Maybe the first one I've seen like a third of the way through a couple of times. But I know the words. I know there's like houses, and I know that Alan Rickman was in it, and I know the Harry Potter kid. I don't know his real name. But I know about Harry Potter, and like, I've been to Universal, so I know the butterbeer, and I know the look, and I lived in Scotland, so like when I go to Scotland, I know they think it looks like Harry Potter. But see, there's this owl. So I bought these kisses thinking that there would be owls on them. There's not owls. There's no owls on the kisses. But I was able to come up and kind of incorporate these into some really fun projects. And my daughter was super excited about them, because if you're a Harry Potter fan, they could be for Halloween, but they could be all year round. If you have kids, and by kids, I mean all the way up to 30, 40-year-olds, people who were kids when this came out, for Halloween or for birthdays, or just because they love that kind of whole feel of stuff. So we're going to use that. So this is kind of the jumping off. I'm going to do a card that uses the feel of that, and then I'm going to make some treat packaging. The stamping will be the same, so I'm only going to stamp once, and then I'm going to show you how to do both. The card obviously is not going to have the kisses on it. So for the online exclusive, I am going to use the tartan foil. See, here's the Scottish part. So it's going to make me, we just were there this past spring. Love me some Scotland. So I'm going to use the copper clay piece. It's double. And then it has, I think this is peacock. I've had so little time. And then we have maybe smoky slate. I haven't looked. It's silverish. And you can see double-sided, as all of our papers are. So if you're waiting for All About Autumn, which will be in shortly, and the ribbon is still out, the paper is still out, everything else is available. The embellishments are back in. So this is a good stand-in for All About Autumn. You could use it with the stamp set and it would be beautiful. It can also be Christmas, and if you love Scotland, you can use it year-round because it's tartan. So I'm going to use this. You can use it on the card. I'm not going to use it on the card. I'm going to use it on the treat packaging, so you'll get to see that. And then I'm going to use All About Autumn, which this doesn't even look like the All About Autumn paper. But if you get the All About Autumn in a couple weeks when it's back in, and everything has been coming in earlier than the dates have said, so it may be in soon. But this is All About Autumn paper that does not look like All About Autumn. It doesn't have nothing about this looks like autumn, but it's in that package. And then on the back, you can see it even goes well with this paper. So if you get the All About Autumn and you make your fall Thanksgiving projects with it, save these, and you can then make masculine projects or an owl project like I'm going to do now. So let's get going on them. Like I said, I'm going to do 2. I'm not going to use this piece, but I did use it for the treat packaging, and I will show it to you. So I'm going to need this. I'm going to do a 2 for 1, because otherwise, like I said, it may be weeks, and then I would be like, yeah, that was a long time ago, I'm not going to finish it. So let's do our stamping first. And when I'll show you what I did, and I'm going to stamp. Got all my little dimensional backings, and that was a try it piece. We did a piece of Velcro. I haven't had time to clean up. Let me get all of these die cut pieces. That was some from the owl. So I'm going to use watercolor cardstock, and I'm going to stamp with Early Espresso, which, yes, it will bleed, but I want my owl to look watercolored. So here's the stamps. I'm going to use this one. Die cut things everywhere. So I'm going to stamp with Early Espresso. And when you stamp that way, like I said, it will bleed, but that's okay, because if you're careful, it can bleed carefully. And I just keep using the same piece. It's going to be die cut out. Now on the watercolor cardstock, just hold it a little bit. Let that paper soak in that ink. It doesn't matter that I did that, because like I said, I'm going to die cut it. I'm going to use the moon. So let's just put it right here. I can hold that just long enough for that ink to absorb. And then I have a piece of vanilla, because my card base is Early Espresso, as is my ink. So if I stamped the sentiment in Early Espresso, it'd be hard to read. And I'm just going to stamp this in the middle, because I don't know which way is up and down. So it says, may you have time to enjoy the quiet moments of this season, which is nice for books, right? Except for me, this isn't a quiet season. The books, for me, are in summer. That's my reading season in my pool. And I do far less classes in the summer. And then when August, well, I guess it was really September hit, then I was like, yeah, this is what it's like to work again. It's always a little bit of a shock to my system. So I'm going to paint, and I'm going to use my water painter. Like I said, it's going to smear a little bit. So let's do our moon first. It's just going to add to the watercolor feel. And I am basing the colors on my paper here. So you can see it's got kind of peacock. It's got a little bit of wild wheat. It's got some mauve, which I'm not going to use, but that's kind of where I pulled the colors from my moon. So you want to squish these down. And the water painter, if you have an old aqua painter, it would work. I'm almost out of water, but I think these are tiny, so it should be enough to pull this in. I'm going to add, the wild wheat has a greenish tinge to it, as wheat does. Now I'm intentionally not going straight over the top of the brown, because it will smear. But it's the moon, and it's the overall feel of this card. Doesn't have to be realistic, right? Get most of that off, otherwise it's going to turn all the way green. Peacock has a green tinge to it. Just going to kind of go around the edges. And as much as painting, I'm dabbing. That will help it from smearing. So there we go. That's a good little moon. I don't want my owl to be peacocky, which you could, because I think lots of birds have feathers. I guess my nails are a little bit peacocky. Now for my owl, I went with copper clay. Might add back a little espresso at the end, and pecan. So very basic colors. I'm going to start with the lightest, which is pecan. Pecan, when you water it down, is very yellow. And again, I'm not going to go right over the top of the ink at first because it will smear. So I'm just going to kind of add this in. And again, I'm kind of blotting as much as painting. But because I want it to look watercolored, if you watercolored, it would have smeary, right? Because there would be water and there would be paint. So I'm just going to kind of fill this in with a base layer, but not everywhere, of some pecan. And then we'll move to the copper clay. And because I'm not brushing and because the water's kind of lifting up when I go, the smearing is not terrible. And it's pretty fast. If you're going to make these as treats, like if you're doing it for an adult party, then your treats can look fabulous, right? You can be like, oh, these are super great treats. If you're doing your Harry Potter party and it's 8-year-old kids, then do these super fast. You probably don't want to watercolor. You could cut them out of one color of cardstock and then just add some highlights of color. So it's all kind of based on who you're giving them to, how much time you want to spend. But the treat containers can stand up on their own after the treat's removed. I designed them so they can be put back together. So if it's going to an adult, they could always take them and put them on their desk. So that just kind of blends in with each other. And again, it's not going to take long. And if you were doing them for treats for a party and you're making 8, just stamp all 8 and do the colors at one time. So those look good. So I'm just going to take it now and add a little bit of highlights with the espresso. And if anything smeared too much, like if you got it on his beak, you could just very carefully kind of retouch that up. I just want to have a little bit now where it's a little bit has a little bit of darkness. It's like I said, the pecan has a little tinge of yellow and the copper's a little red, and I want it to make sure that it matches my paper. Just pull a little bit of that brown back in, and that's good. Also, I don't want this to take forever because we have things we need to do. And I have one more thing I need to watercolor, but we need to die cut those first. I'm going to let it just dry for a second. Watercolor cardstock dries very quickly, but we'll go ahead and do our cutting of the other 2 things. And then that will be dry and we'll decorate. So this is a 6x6 piece of paper. Obviously our card is not going to be 6x6. So pull this up here. So for our card, normally I would do a 4 by 5 1/4, right? That's a kind of a standard card front, but I want lots of this on here, but I want a peek of the espresso. I don't want it to look like the full thing is. So 4 1/4 is card size. 4 is normally what gives us a good border, but to see a little bit more of this paper, I'm going to go 4 1/8. So then we have a little bit more of that. And then because I did a little bit more of that, I want to have a little bit more the other way. Now this book down here, I could, if I do it this way, I'm going to lose more of this book. I'm going to lose more of this. So again, it would be 5 1/2 is card size, 5 1/4 is where I normally do. So I'm going to add a 1/4 inch back to that. Just gives us a little bit more of that paper on there. So this is our card. And then for our little candy thing, we need to have a piece of 4 by 5 of the tartan. So this is already cut 4 because I've made 1. So this is going to be 5. And then we need to score it at this direction at 1 1/4. So make sure you have your scoring blade. So get that one out of the way so you don't accidentally cut. So 1 1/4, 2 1/2, and 3 3/4. And these Hershey Kisses things have been around for a long time, except these Hershey Kisses, like I may do another one in a couple of days with I may do another card Christmas version of these and show you the standard way, because the Harry Potter ones, for one, they have special little, this is really easier to do it this way because you can see them. Whenever our pattern paper is busy on one side, you see it a lot better. So you want to score these. The Harry Potter Kisses, the fun part's on the bottom. And normally when we make these little kiss packets, you glue the bottom on. But I don't want to glue the bottom on, because if you glue the bottom on, people aren't going to see the little fun part that you have. See, it's easier to see this way. So score it and then just press them down like that. So here's what I mean. I pulled out, there's different ones of these. Some of them just have like shapes of them. Some of them have the house names on the bottom. These have sayings like, a great deal of bravery, you're a wizard, Harry, 5 points for dumb luck, Dobby is free. If you watch the movie, you probably know. I know what some of them mean because I've heard the kids say it. You're a wizard, Harry. I know the big guy says that. So I don't want, if you put them in like normal, like this is how they normally go. And these are at least cute. Like the wrapper's cute and the little taggies are cute. And I just got them at Kroger. So look up your, if you don't have Kroger, what's the similar to that. If you put them in like that, then this part is going to stick and they're not going to be able to see it. I wanted them to kind of hang in here and for that to show. So I took my glue dots, and normally they go like this. So I flipped them over, and I want mine to hang. So I just took my glue dots. It's super simple. And I start with my middle one, and I'm going to put a glue dot right on the top of my kiss, just like this. And then instead of putting it on the bottom, I'm going to start with the middle one so they, and see, they'll just be just like this. And they are all sticking perfectly. I'm going to open one of my other ones that I finished at the end, so stick around to the end, because I have to make the card first so you can see how to decorate the outside. But now when they open them, this is what they're going to see. And you're not going to ruin the fun little, because some of them have, like I said, the house logos on the bottom. So now they're all going to get these little sayings. It was much quicker when I wasn't filming to stick these on, but you know that happens with everything you do when you're making a video. And then you're just going to take one glue dot and stick it on this little front folding, which isn't always the way that we make these, but I want it to be able to open easily, because I don't want them to mess with it. Otherwise, if they're messing with it, then this might not. So now it's going to go like this. So you can see they're hanging in here. And then you're going to take a piece of this paper. So this one has the gold. You can use this is the offcut from this right here. You can use any of your All About Autumn. You can use the offcut from this. This one's probably not quite big enough. Nope. So we'll use this one, and you could cut it down if you want to. So you're going to fold that around, and then I will show you that, because you're just going to wrap this around, and then I will show you one of the finished ones in a second. So let's take this. This is going to go on here. I'm going to cut these out with your dies. And then I'm also going to cut out a branch, and I'm going to put this one through this folder. But that's going to happen in the magic of fast forwarding. You're going to see it done. All right, so we've done these. There's a couple more things. Obviously our branch, I don't want a white branch. So let's take this. I don't have any scrap paper here, but this is going to have the books mounted over it. So let's just grab this. Give this a little light coat of espresso. And then the other thing that I don't really want is I don't want this to have that white around it. So I'm just going to take this, and instead of cleaning my brush off, I'm just going to kind of brush it around the edges. And then it won't look like I have that giant white aura around my owl. And he'll kind of blend in better into my background. See, that makes a big difference. And now you're probably wondering, why am I not doing that to the moon, right? Because it also has an aura. Well, I am going to, but I'm going to grab my Wink of Stella. I'm going to make my moon sparkly, as all moons should be. And when that pulls over, it's going to grab just a tiny bit of the color and give a little bit of moon aura to the edge. And you could do the same thing over here if you want to have a little bit of sparkle to the edges. You don't want your owl to be sparkly, but so we have those done. And see, I'm just going to cover that up. So I didn't need any scrap paper because I forgot to put any up here. So let's finish off our card, and then I will show you how to finish off your candy thing as well. So if you have the copper ribbon and the natural ribbon from the All About Autumn, you can shred it. And I have videos, past videos where I've shredded that. It's currently unavailable, but that's okay. We have lots of ribbon that will shred. So I am going to use this. It's from the Earth and Elements in the annual catalog. I need about that much. And it shreds beautifully, and it looks like it matches this suite as well. There's also a giant natural ribbon. There is the in color twine. It will shred. There's just the cord that will shred. There is the silver. There's lots of things that you can substitute in our catalog. So you don't always have to have the exact item. This paper doesn't even have any copper in it, so you don't need the copper. So I'm just going to kind of pull this apart. It just kind of gives it the outdoors feel, like our owls sitting in the trees. And actually, what I like about this one, I can't remember if we did this in Card Club, if I've done it because we did use this ribbon in Card Club, or if I did it in a public video. But when you shred it, you get this piece here, which is a little bit of a different feel than the other ones. Then I'm going to take some dimensionals. I'm going to sandwich the first two right here. That's why I have dimensional backs everywhere all the time. And I'm going to add my branch here. And then I'm going to add a dimensional to my owl head. Otherwise, it will be higher than the bottom of it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive down here, because that branch has covered up most of that and it's not going to stick real well. I'm going to make sure it sticks. And add him to the branch. And then I'm also going to add my moon dimensional to it. And then I have an interesting choice, I think, for the stars, the garden walk. I wanted something gold, and so I pulled these out. They're the Garden Walk, so they go with some pretty bright, funky 70s kind of paper. But I liked the way that I was going to use just gold because the gold looks great with it. But look how much fun the peacock and the green are with this because I chose to color my moon that way. So let's start with a gold one. And we're just going to add some stars to our thing. So I'm going to do the gold. And then I'm going to do the rest in some green and peacock. Because I found I didn't want to mess with the stars that were on that paper. So I'm just going to go with the one gold. I didn't want those to kind of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're good. And then I'm making a giant mess from this one project. To finish off our card, all we need to do is to remember to add this. There are some star stamps, and I did mean to take those and add those in wild wheat, but you can do that. You can see that, right? So just add those to the inside. Isn't that fun? Super fun. Here's my other card. So it watercolored a little differently. I kind of did the placement different, but overall, pretty much the same. Now here are my treat things. So here's the one that I haven't finished. So it definitely needs the band on it to hold it together. So here's the two. Here's my one that has the tartan paper. On this one, I just took the die cut that is in it, and it's not stamped at all. Same colors, and I just die cut out of the watercolor paper. So it'd be a little bit faster because there's no stamping. And then you can see these are in here. So when they slide this off, this is the offcut from this one. And then there's just the one glue dot, remember? I want to make sure I can put this back together to take the pictures because I haven't taken the pictures yet. So pull this off and look, they have those little sayings that I just showed you. So they're not upside down or right side up, I guess, the way they normally would be on a kiss thing, but then they have the sayings that I just showed you. And then I'll pop it back together. This is going to be up. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this is going to be hard to take a picture of, Cheri. I can already see. And I have a lot to do today, and I really don't want to mess with it. So for this one, I intentionally didn't put him on here because this is easier to slide off and on. But you can see it's easier to put back together even once they've taken the chocolate out. And here's the other one. And this is that other piece of book paper. And then this is the back of it. See, slides off very easily. And this is the exact same owl as this one. So here's my kisses. So it appears like when you've pulled it off that they're sitting on their own, right? And then you pull it off. And there's the houses. Well, the houses, and then my daughter said that this is Alan Rickman. Because I'm like, what are these kisses? And she said, can I have this kiss in this one? And I said, honey, when I am done with these kisses, you can have the whole package. Nothing like making your adult daughter's day because you're going to give her a package of Hershey Kisses. And I don't think they're her favorite candy. It's the wrappers. So if you have adult children, you too can make their day by giving them this little package of kisses. But those are the houses. And then there's a whole slew of other things that I didn't use. But again, you can see then when they're in here, they're actually hanging, because they're hanging from the glue dot, remember, at the top. And super easy to put back on. These, I did only the owl. And then on this one, I did add one of the embellishments. But this would be super pretty, you know. By the time I left work, I was surprised by the things that adults were putting on their desk to decorate them, because I was a little old school. Sometimes I would have flowers. But, you know, decorating my desk or, you know, pictures of my family wasn't a thing. But it is a thing these days. So the desk cards are something that I refer to. So there you go. And really, except for this paper, which you can easily do this and buy the kisses. Now, I think they probably are more of a Halloween kiss. But have fun with it. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great one. Bye.